a new package and a new unboxing. Let us start. Hello everyone, I hope you are all good and welcome back to my channel. I'm Photorabs, a portrait photographer based in France, and in today's video we're going to talk about Sony. As you saw in the intro of this video, Sony France, actually they sent me these two to try for free, but I don't have to keep them. I will send them back to Sony in a few days. This is the 85mm GM2 1.4. This is a great lens for portrait photo shoots, and because I do lots of portraits, we're going to test that. And they sent me also this A7 IV, which is not a new camera at this point. It's been on the market for at least 3 years, but this camera is very capable. This is one of the best Sony cameras. It has 33 megapixel sensor. It's a full frame camera. And well, actually, I'm very curious to test it because I always show some new cameras on my channel. And in today's video, we're going to put this old camera, 3 years old camera, into a real portrait photo shoot test to see whether we should always go to buy the new cameras, or we can stick with maybe an older version and get some great shots. So it has been about a week now. I'm playing with this Sony A7 IV along with this 85mm 1.4 GM2 lens. I made more than 5 portrait photo shoots with this combination, with this camera and this lens. And in this video, I'm not going to give you my review on this camera or on this lens, but instead I'm going to give you mainly my user experience, my feedback, what I liked and what I didn't like about it. But first, I would like once again to thank Sony France and Digit Photo for sending this camera and this lens over to try them for a week. And now just after this video, I will pack them and send them again to Sony France. And by the way, by the end of this video, I will throw on the screen some photos and some footage I took with this camera and this lens, so stay tuned till the end of the video to discover a little bit what I'm talking about exactly. And by the way, I didn't do any comparison between Sony and Nikon or Fuji. I just wanted to stick to one camera, one lens during the photo shoots that I've done this week. Before I talk about the camera, let me just tell you that this lens, the 85mm 1.4 GM2, is one of the best lenses I've ever used. In terms of sharpness, in terms of colors, in terms of autofocus, it's one of the most expensive lenses as well. It's way more expensive than the Sirui Aurora 85mm 1.4, way more expensive than the Meiki 85 1.4, and way more heavier, but you won't be disappointed at all with the results. The autofocus is amazing, and this lens performed really well in low light and as well when my subject was backlit, so I got great images, great sharpness, and yeah, this one is a perfect lens, although it's very expensive. And now let's talk a little bit about this Sony A7 IV that I'm using to record this talking headshot here. Although this camera is old, it has been on the market for more than 3 years, and Sony released many cameras after the release of this one. Although I always try to show you new cameras on my channel, but this one is really an exception. And think that even Gerald Undone, who has access to lots of cameras, he is still using the Sony A7 IV as his main YouTube cameras in 2025. That means that this camera is still performing great and it's still competing with the new cameras of 2025. The first thing that I would like to mention about it is that this camera has a 33 megapixel full frame sensor. And I was thinking before that if I compare 33 megapixel sensor to a 24 megapixel full frame sensors, of course, I can get a bigger pixel size on the 24 megapixel sensor and then getting better low light performances. But this one performed really well in low light. It doesn't have dual native ISO, but it has great ISO performances. I've done photos at 1000 and 2000 ISO and the result is really fantastic. I really loved it. I didn't have much light and the result was perfect. I really loved the quality of the image even at 2000 ISO, and lots of users, they said that you can go up to 6400 without having issues and without losing quality, without degrading the quality of the image. And I would be really curious to try that. I don't have time now to try it, but I'll be trying again to get this camera and to play with it at higher ISO levels to have or to test this feature. Add to that the autofocus performance of this camera in photo shoots combined with this 85mm 1.4 GM2 at 1.4 at an aperture of 1.4 is great. This camera was tracking my subject perfectly. I didn't had any issues in tracking and snapping great sharp images with it. So in terms of photography, in terms of portrait photography, this camera is a beast. Although I enjoyed using this camera throughout this week in terms of photos, but in videos I found some flaws, at least the way that I would use this camera for. For example, if you'd like to shoot in 4K 50 with this one, you have 1.5 time crop with it. So if you are using an 85mm, it will become around 127mm. So that's not something ideal, especially now in 2025 when we have some more options, more camera options that offer 4K 50 at no crop. This one has 1.5 crop and that's not something that I like. Add to that, we cannot shoot in 4K 100 frames per second with this Sony A7 IV, and that's for me the major downside of this camera, because when I'm doing my videos outside, I would like to shoot in 4K 100 frames per second to be able to slow down the footage later on. But with this one, if you'd like to shoot in 100 frames per second, you have to go to 1080p, and that's not something that personally I like, especially now in 2025. The other thing that annoyed me with this camera is the flip out screen. Although it's a touch screen, but it is not as responsive as my Sony ZV-E1 or my Sony A6700, and that's for me a bummer because I'm used to those newer cameras and I really couldn't find my way out with this one because maybe it's an old generation and we didn't have all the new technologies back then. So that was my user experience video after a week of using the Sony A7 IV along with the 85mm 1.4 GM2 lens. Thank you Sony France as well as Digit Photo for sending these over so I can try them and I can make my own idea about this old camera and this new lens. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, to subscribe, to ring the bell so you will not miss my upcoming post, and stay tuned. At the end of this video you're gonna see some photos and rushes taken with this combination here. And if you'd like to buy your camera gears and you are nearby France, you can check Digit Photo website and use my creator code PHOTORABS. That's a massive help for my channel, and thank you for watching. Ciao for now.